A question that I'm quite often asked by guys is around how come they can masturbate and self-pleasure for quite a long time, but when it comes to sex, it still happens quite quickly. So what's going on here and how can they bridge that gap? And here's an example. This is a question that came into me through my website about a week ago. I have learnt over the last year or so to control my body greatly when I self-pleasure. Sometimes I last 10 minutes masturbating to porn, even longer when using a fleshlight, and sometimes I find it difficult to ejaculate at all when I masturbate just with my hand. It goes on and on. However, when I'm with a girl, I get really quickly to the point of no return, and that can be even when dry humping. I feel like I lose control when I'm not in charge. How can I bring my confidence from self-pleasuring into the bedroom and get a higher threshold for my sexual excitement when I'm with a woman? Now, this is a really interesting question, and I think it touches on one of the great mysteries of how male sexuality works, and also one of the great frustrations as well. So let's have a quick look at what might be going on here and what guys can practically do to bridge that gap. Now, masturbating for longer is common advice for guys to enjoy masturbation as a way of self-training, as a way of being able to focus and build awareness in their body of how the sensations of rising excitement and arousal feels. And that makes complete sense. It is time well spent. We're able to do it without the pressure, without the expectation of being with a partner. We can just focus on ourselves. As I often say, it is more effective and it's easier to do if we can put the porn away for a bit, if we can put the phone down and just focus on our own experience. That's even better. And it's effective too. Quite often guys who do come quickly, sometimes within a few seconds, over time they can build up to a minute or two, they build their confidence, they can get up to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and they can really build up and feel like they've got more confidence and stamina. That's fantastic, but then quite often they try to bring this newfound confidence into the bedroom, and when they have sex with a partner, intercourse, penetrative sex, they still come quite quickly. And that's a blow to their confidence and not fantastic. So the first reason for this is different excitement levels. When we're using masturbation as training, sometimes we call this mindful masturbation, mindful self-pleasure, one of the things that we become aware of is the initial sensations, the very first tingles or sensations of the curve of rising arousal, building excitement, starts small. It begins almost imperceptibly. And we notice that, we become more aware so that we can change something, we can intervene and manage this before we reach the point of no return. We learn how to take control a bit sooner. And that's essential. And if we're not doing that, if when we're masturbating we're edging, we're just getting ourselves right onto the brink of orgasm, and then somehow we're going hands off, somehow we're able to hold on and fend off that orgasm, and then we get right back onto the brink again and back and forth and back and forth. That's edging, and it's not really mindful masturbation. And it can be a lot of fun. It can feel great when we're on our own, but it's not so great when we're with a partner and we're trying to have sex and intercourse in a relaxed way for a bit longer. That's unless we're specifically doing edge play with our partner, and that's a very different kind of activity. Now, when it comes to intercourse, that curve of our excitement and arousal levels and the way that that feels and the way that our body reacts is quite different. It's a different dynamic. We're doing different movements, different positions. It feels like showtime. We've got our partner to think of. There's a lot more awareness and sensation going on. And we'll look at some of the reasons and factors in that in this video. But it can quite often catch guys by surprise, and it then becomes a feeling of panic can set in. And guys can come quickly, and that can be very disheartening. So at the moment, just being aware that the curve of excitement is inevitably different during intercourse, and that's absolutely fine. We can roll with it once we're aware of that. Now, another reason is different movement. When we're having intercourse with a partner, we move our bodies very differently. We are rotating our hips, we're moving our pelvis, we're thrusting. So we're moving very differently, of course. And research has shown that the movement of the hips and the pelvis is one of the key signals that goes up to the brain and the rest of the body and starts to say, right, let's start getting prepared to move towards ejaculation and orgasm. It's the neurotransmission of sexual signals. Here's a random fact. Did you know that the white-tailed deer only requires one thrust to reach ejaculation? So things could be worse, couldn't they? Also, as part of the movement, there are positions as well. When we're having sex with a partner, we hold ourselves in all kinds of positions that recruit our muscles through our limbs and our torso and our lower body and our legs. Think about missionary position, how we're building muscle tension in our arms and our shoulders and our torso and our legs, our knees, to hold ourselves in that position and move at the same time. Think about even when we're laying down and our partner is on top of us, we're still using our core and recruiting our quads and our legs and our hips and our glutes in order to get that movement going. And again, we know that muscular tension throughout the body is another one of those activating factors that drives the sympathetic response, the movement towards orgasm and ejaculation. So is one of the answers to this to replicate sexual movement and thrusting and hip movement when we're on our own, when we're masturbating? Well, that does help, but of course when we're on our own and we're thrusting away, that can feel a bit ridiculous. So there are some specific exercises to incorporate that movement and stay relaxed and balanced and in control when you're on your own. And I talk about that in one of my other videos about exercises to overcome premature ejaculation. Another reason for this gap in timing is anxiety and expectation. Now, I know we've identified that movement is a factor, and what some of you guys might be thinking is, but hang on, when I'm being completely passive during sex, let's say I'm lying back and my partner is on top and they're doing all the work, I am barely moving, they are doing all the work, I still come quickly. What's going on there? So just as the guy that asked me that question mentioned, at this point we're no longer in charge. So again, it's a very different kind of dynamic. We're laying back, we're being passive, we should be relaxed, but in that situation all we're doing is experiencing the pleasurable sensations of sex and admiring the view. And this is intensely stimulating. And even though we might be lying there feeling like, okay, I'm not moving, I can be completely relaxed, internally, subconsciously, there is a frenzy of neurological activity going on, building up sexual excitement. And this is about conditioning too, because when we come quite quickly when we're on our own and we're masturbating, we don't really think much of it. We might think, oh, that was quick, that was over quickly, but then we just get on and we don't lay down an emotional memory about that. But when we come quickly during sex in front of a partner, it's a very different experience. Our amygdala, the part of our brain that is always looking out for fears and threats and stress, picks up on the fears of not satisfying our partner and disappointment and feeling bad about ourselves. And it says, I'm going to watch out for that in future. I'm going to pattern match because that's a threat to my relationship, threat to my well-being and my self-esteem. So it watches out for that and builds up an ongoing expectation of negativity and failure. So this can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, an association between having sex with a partner in any kind of position and the inevitable disappointment and failure. So what can we do about this? What can we do to bring those hard-earned gains from masturbation and training into the bedroom? Well, first of all, there's building on our skills. So you've become better at lasting longer when you're masturbating on your own. And this is excellent. This is a really useful foundation. And this, in a way, this skill has to come first in the process of lasting longer and overcoming premature ejaculation. Next is being able to keep up some of this awareness and self-management, if you like, when we're with a partner, when we're with another body. There's someone that's breathing, moving around us, touching us, the sharing of experience, being able to interact with our partner and enjoy the experience while still having some of this awareness and control. Now, this doesn't necessarily come naturally at first. It's another skill set. It's an extension of the training that we've done. And I talk in some of my other videos and on my blog about some of the factors and different ways that we can do this, because it's a more subtle, nuanced skill, if we like. We take into account positions, speed of movement, depth of penetration, angles, timings, switching things up, all the different ways that we can stay moving, keep interacting, keep connected with our partner, but maintain awareness without overthinking and getting carried away into negative thoughts. Secondly, the importance of deeper relaxation. All of this is much easier if we really know how it feels to move and be deeply relaxed in our bodies. And we tend to do this, the common ways are through breathing, mindfulness and awareness of sensation, and being able to have a few techniques to relax and let things go. And quite often guys say to me that they do the breathing exercises and relaxed, deep, slower breathing. And when they do this when they're masturbating, when they're on their own, they find it quite helpful. They can actually feel the letting go of tension and the relaxation in their body. But when they're with their partner, it goes out the window. It feels very difficult to do and still have the sexual experience. And I get this, but sometimes it is a matter of perseverance a little bit. So I check with the guy whether they're actually breathing optimally, whether they're doing relaxed breathing the right way, and whether they've done it enough and become familiar enough with the response and the sensations to bring that into partnered sex. Now, overcoming premature ejaculation, it isn't all about breathing, but it is one of the most obvious and essential things that we can do to create a relaxed environment in our body and have more oblique control and delay the ejaculation response. And I've talked about that in another video too. Next, a very valuable skill is sexual acclimatisation. And particularly when we're with a partner, upon initial penetration, when we enter our partner for the first time and we get those intense waves of sensation and feelings of pleasure. And also, as we've established, we experience those initial doubts and worries, and that pattern match might go off to previous experiences of intercourse. Of course it will. But if we can pause at that point and take it really slowly, penetrate slowly, and hang around a little while once we're inside, which can be hot, it can be teasing, it builds on the moment, but it also gives us an opportunity to ride that initial wave of intense pleasure, sometimes a little bit of anxiety, and still not let that knock us off balance. You know, it's okay to experience that initial build of sensation. It's the first wave. Riding that wave is key here. One of the other things that we can do is rehearsal and visualization. Now, as a therapist, when I'm working with clients, one of the best tricks up my sleeve is using guided imagery. So helping the client to become deeply relaxed, open up their imagination and their resourcefulness, and be able to experience and get a feeling of whatever the changes that they're wanting to make. And this is really useful when it comes to building sexual confidence as well. In that relaxed state, having a bit of a rehearsal of some of the skills that we've covered off gives the guy a chance to experience and move the association of sex from a negative expectation. So I'm gonna penetrate my partner and I'm gonna come quite quickly, to a more constructive expectation that there's going to be an activity, that I'm going to penetrate my partner, I'm going to make time for it, I'm going to feel the sensations, I'm going to have my thoughts, I'm going to be able to put my breathing and my relaxation and my awareness into practice. I will move, there will be different positions, there will be an experience, an activity over time, and eventually I will ejaculate. And there will be a receiving and a giving of pleasure between me and my partner. If we can change that association and build some confidence and really experience how that feels, that's really valuable. Now, I appreciate that this kind of visualization, guided imagery experience, it's easier to do when you're able to relax and it's directed by somebody else, with a therapist or even like an audio. So I am going to be putting together some visualization audios that guys will be able to follow to help have this experience. It is something that you can do independently on your own. Again, especially if you're masturbating and you put the phone down and use your imagination, get more used to your own experience and arousal. You can visualize how it's going to feel, what you're going to do, and that can help bring these skills into the bedroom, into the reality of partnered sex. So there we have it. By all means, I haven't covered off all the potential reasons why guys might struggle to bring their timing and their confidence from masturbation into partnered sex. It's a pretty unique experience for all of us. But I hope that's given you some useful insights and some useful suggestions, and thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions about premature ejaculation or sexual confidence in general, please feel free to get in touch, and my website is linked in the description below this video. Also remember that I am a therapist sharing my opinions and general advice, but this is no substitute for going to see your own GP or doctor. So if you have any concerns about health or your sexual health, you should go and get a medical checkup and take some advice. Thank you very much for watching.